Good day, everybody. Welcome to Medical Bellator. My name is Dr. Emmanuel. Today's topic will be touching on the embryological development of the nervous system in a fetus. Now, common mind in medicine knows that embryology is one of the hardest branch of science or medicine because it has to do with proliferation, differentiation, formation of cells, tissues, organs to develop a fetus into a full newborn baby. All right. But today, let's touch on the nervous system. All right. So, for embryology, we always go into the germinal layers. Here, for the neural development, we have three germinal layers. Number one, you have the outside layer known as the ectoderm. Ecto, outside, derm, layer, skin. Next layer, apart from the outside, is what? The middle part. You have it as the mesoderm. Meso, middle. Derm, layer or skin. After the meso, now you have the inner part, known as what? The endoderm. Endo, inside. The inside layer, derm, layer. All right? So, for neurodevelopment, everything starts off with the neuroectoderm or the ectoderm. The ectoderm is also known as the neuroectoderm. All right? It starts off from the top, which is the outer part. And then you have the mesoderm. Those two are very active. Endoderm is constant. It's not active with the other two layers, which is the ecto and the meso. It's not. All right? Those two are the only ones. So, the mesoderm goes through proliferation and differentiation to form the paraxial mesoderm and the nodal cord. Very, very important. The nodal cord is very, very important. The nodal cord is what ends up becoming the nucleus pulposus in the disc, the vertebral disc. But that's not the main part. That's not the main part right now. Okay, let's make it simple. Imagine purchasing a blower bed in its deflated form. It always comes in a deflated form. But all you have to do to fill up the bed is to press a button. When the mesoderm undergoes differentiation, it forms a nodal cord that looks just like a button. Now imagine, this is just a way for you to easily remember this. Imagine, I'm not saying this is how it exactly happens, but it's just for you to understand and remember this. Imagine pressing that button nodal cord and it triggers the ectoderm or the neuroectoderm, which is the outer part, to do what? To form what's called the neural plate, which in turn forms the neural tube and the neural crest. Remember that. The ectoderm or the neuroectoderm, the same thing, forms the neural plate. And then the neural plate forms what? The neural tube and what? The neural crest cell. All right. So, when it's triggered, I'm talking about the neuroectoderm. What happens? It forms this neural plate, which invaginates itself to form what? The neural groove. It's a plate that was like this. Invaginate, form a groove, all right? And before you know it, it forms what? A tube. It goes in and forms a tube that ends up, because again, it looks like this. It goes in like this, and then this is, it used to be a groove, goes in, looks like a tube, and then it closes. So when it closes, it looks like this. The neural plate forms this neural tube. Remember, what else does the neural plate form? The neural plate also forms the neural crest cells. These neural crest cells are responsible for the formation of the Schwann cells for your nerves. They are also responsible for the formation of your dorsal root ganglia. Your dorsal root ganglia. The ganglions in your dorsal roots. All right. It also forms the autonomic nervous system, which is your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, which we all which we will discuss later on. So right now, we are talking about the development of a child's central nervous system. Now, when the tubes invaginate and goes in and form a tube, it's like looking at a straw from the top. It looks like this if it's magnified. So the frontal part, because this neural tube is what forms the spinal cord. Again, the neural tube is where the spinal cord is formed from. The neural crest cell is for the Schwann cells, all right, and the dorsal root ganglia, the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Now, this tube, remember, it was a plate at first from the neuroectoderm. So that plate invaginates from the tube, and then the anterior part, the frontal part of that plate, which is also the ventral part of the plate, forms what? Your motor neurons. The posterior part, also known as the dorsal, forms what? Your sensory neurons in your spinal cord. If you've seen the picture of a spinal cord, you will understand what I'm talking about. It looks like a butterfly at the top. It looks like a butterfly, like wings. The posterior part is also known as what? The alar plate, from the neural plate. And the anterior part is known as the basal plate. Okay? The basal plate is also known as what? The anterior plate or the ventral plate. Remember, basal plate, B, or anterior plate, A, or ventral plate, V, B-A-V, BAV. All right? And then the posterior plate, also known as the dorsal plate, all right, takes part in the formation of the sensory neuron. Frontal is motor, posterior is sensory. Spinal cord, remember that very well. Anterior, motor. What's motor? Muscle coordination, muscle neurons, neurons for the muscle reaction. All right. Posterior is sensory, sensation, whether it be pain, temperature, vibration, all of that. Let's remember that. All right. Now, what triggers the formation of the sensory neurons in the posterior part or in the alar plate? Alar means wing in Latin, which is what you see on the spinal cord, the fully developed spinal cord. At the posterior part, it looks more like a wing, especially with the gray matter. The gray matter. Okay? What do you see? It looks like a butterfly, more posterior than anterior, depending on the level of the spinal cord too. Okay? Now, what protein is known as the BMP, or the bone morphogenic protein? Bone, morpho, form, genetic, gene, protein. Now, for the anterior part, the main trigger protein is what? The sonic hedgehog protein. The sonic hedgehog, just like Sonic the Hedgehog. All right? How do we remember this? Dorsal part, which is the posterior part, which is also sensory. Dorsal equal to BMP. Just like when you do your test results, or when you go to see a doctor, sometimes they order a test result for you in the ER or in the clinic. So sometimes it can be a BMP test. All right, it can be because they have CBC, BMP, CMP. But just imagine, remember that dorsal equal to BMP, ventral or anterior equal to what? SHH. SHH means sonic hedgehog protein. BMP means bone morphogenetic protein. Okay, let's try to remember that. Dorsal equal to BMP, ventral equal to SHH.